Thanks so much for joining us today. It's Marilyn Schultz, Director of Cornerstone's Marketing and Communications Department. I'm just here to say welcome to everyone and give you a little bit of housekeeping tips with what's going on. During the presentation today, if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the bar on the side, and Tom will either answer as we go along or he'll address everything at the end of the presentation. And I wanted to remind everybody about our incentive trip for 2020. We're setting sail for the Caribbean in May of 2020. So if you have not registered yet, please do so. Visit our website at sierraandstone.com and go to the rewards page, and you can register. All the qualifying information is there.
Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
And I wanted to give you an update on Cornerstone's new Resource Center. Again, visit our website and you can go under the Resources tab and click in there and open up the Resource Center. It's available without need of a password, so it's accessible 24/7. And you're going to find everything out there from carrier product information to forms and supplies and marketing materials. So be sure to check that out. And of course, for 2019, you're attending one of many Cornerstone webinars that we're going to be hosting between now and the end of September this year. So check out Jeff Eglin, the Individual Corner, every other Wednesday. Build Your Brand. You're going to see us every other Tuesday, and that's help with marketing and building up your brand, talking about social media and how you can grow your business through marketing. Tom, of course, today and every other Tuesday is going to give you his Tech Tuesday and get you up to speed on all things. Tom, I'm going to say Outlook, Excel, you've got coming up, PowerPoint. There you go. Perfect. The group corner starts this week, and Greg Amato, our Director of Sales, Employee Benefit Sales, he's up in Northern Ohio, but he's going to host Principal starting tomorrow, so be sure to register for that one. And then Cornerstone Corner, you're going to see that starting up in February. Our first guest on Cornerstone Corner is going to be Dennis Haywood, Social Security Solutions, and he's running a two-part series in the month of February. You want to be sure to register for that. And I think that's it, right, Tom? We're done with housekeeping, and I'm going to hand over the mic to Tom, and he's going to get you all up to speed on the technical side of PowerPoint. Thanks, everyone.
Hi there, everyone. Just to get started a little bit, we're covering some of the basics of PowerPoint today. Things like designing slides, some tips and tricks, how to reorder slides, some transitions, animations of text, how to add different images, other sorts of inserts you want to show, navigation, and the difference between a timed and a manually advanced presentation. Just in case we missed it a little bit earlier, I will be handling questions closer to the end of the presentation. If you have a question, feel free to type it in that chat box over on the right, I believe, of your presentation view screen, and I would be happy to answer it near the end. Just going through here some best practices. It's important to use bullets and not like long paragraphs on your slides. That's just so people focus more on what you're saying and what you're doing rather than on the actual points of your PowerPoint. It's also important not to just read from your PowerPoint and put all of your text there. Otherwise, people will probably be writing during the presentation and not really focused on what you're saying. Like the slide says, less is more. The more information you put on your slide, the more attention you take away from yourself and what you're saying. So it's very important that you know what you're going to say before you actually begin your presentation and don't just read off the slide. We also have different designs that we can add to slides. This right here is just the default slide design. It has a title box and a text field, as well as some bullets that you can add. This is just the default look. As you can see from some of our previous slides, we actually have a 2019 Cornerstone presentation background that we've created here. And I'll show you how to do something like that a little later in the presentation. You can also highlight text you wish to change, and in the Home tab, you can change things like the font type here. You can also change the size over in this section. You can adjust it line by line, manually type in your font size, or if you want to just go up a few steps, you can use these quick bars here. You can also use bold, italic, underline on your text, the same as if you were using Microsoft Word or any other real word processor, as well as adding text shadow if you wanted, strike through. You can increase the spacing between your letters. You can really do about anything you want to text in PowerPoint, which is what makes it so versatile. You can also change the actual color of the text that you're using. I know that was a little tougher to see, but as you can see, we can change the text as much as we want. And on the next slide, I'm just going to show you a little bit of the presentation sort of outline of the text box. If you have any questions on this, I will be sending out the PowerPoint at the end if you send me an email. So if you want a copy of this presentation, just go ahead and do that. There are also themes that you can apply to different slides. Themes are different designs that are already loaded into PowerPoint. You can create your own with a custom background image and logo for your slides as well. If I go into the Design tab here, these are all different themes that can be applied. You can actually use these for free. They are free trade. You're welcome to use any of the ones that come loaded into PowerPoint when you buy Microsoft Office. In addition to that, we also have different layouts. As you can see, when you apply a theme, it modifies all of the slides here. So when you're using a theme, make sure you use the one you're going to want. When you're going to do a custom theme, you also can save that as a .potx file to just apply it to everything very quickly. You would do that by clicking on the slide you wanted to save as, File, Save As, and when you're saving from this drop-down box, it would be a POTX for a PowerPoint template, and then you can just hit Save after you rename it, and that will allow you to use that template in the future as much as you would like. There's also a drop-down if you're using a version of PowerPoint from 2010 or previous, and this is just a little image of that that you can select from Theme. You would get to that by right-clicking on the slide and going into Formatting. This is actually the background format here, but you can also get to it by right-clicking and going into Layout, which is this drop-down here. This background that I was talking about is how you would add in a custom picture to your background. You could do that by going into Slide Formatting and selecting Styles, Picture Corrections. If you use Picture or Texture Fill here, you can use this drop-down to select a picture, or you can choose a picture from File, one of the Microsoft background pictures as an example. Maybe this desert scene, that looks pretty wonderful on any background in my opinion. You can also apply that theme to all by clicking that button here, do some picture corrections and picture color options as well from the format background. There's also different slide formattings you can do, as I just covered. You can also change the order of your slide very easily using this slide pane over here. It has two different views. There's slides and there's outline. That outline there showed my show notes for a brief second, which is why I'm not using that. But you can change the ordering of the slide by simply clicking on the slide you want, dragging and dropping. As you can see now, the order is changed and my slide ordering slide is all the way up here. In addition to that, there are different slide transitions you can use, and to show off some of those, I'm going to show you both screens real quick and go into my presentation. There are two different ways you can begin, but for now we'll do from current slide. And you should be able to see, just double checking now, this on the right is my actual presentation, and on the left is the raw PowerPoint that I'm showing. To advance the slide, I'm going to hit down or right arrows on my keyboard, or you could also just click on the presentation. And I'm going to have to click on it once there just to make sure it knows that's where I am. That was a different slide transition. That was just fade, but you can apply custom slide transitions. They come with PowerPoint. If I'm in my slide here and I go to transitions. This gives you all of the different slide transition options. There are, as you can see, several different ones that you can choose from. There's Flash, Dissolve, Checkerboard. You can really apply anything you'd like. That's the honeycomb one that I was talking about earlier. Unfortunately, it is not very professional unless you use it sparingly. It's very good to draw the attention of whoever you're trying to draw, but it's ineffective at presenting serious information, and since we sell insurance, it's not really wise to use something like that typically. You can also apply different animations to text specifically. You can do it similarly to slide transitions. It's just done from this Animations tab over here. As you can see on my right-hand screen, there are different numbers over here, and that is actually the order that these will present in, as I can show you on my slide in full presentation mode. If I go down, it's applied to individual bullets. It can be added to text as well as images, as you can see from my right-hand side of the screen. It's added the same way as the slide transitions under animation, and you can reorder animations easily using the move earlier, move later options, which I'm about to show you. If I hit escape on that, that'll end that portion and get me back into this edit here. I'm using the zoom that's being applied right now, as you can see from this box up here. I'm going to move this back into single screen view for you real quick, so you can see it a little bit better. If I click on this option 4 right here and use this timing section here under the animations, I can change the order that these slides are going to present. If I click move earlier, it will swap the two different numbers here, and it will reorder how these are presented. I also want to reorder this one actually as well. Let's move that up here so that it can be applied to text as well as images, and we're going to move this one earlier as well. So that'll be presented third. This will be presented fourth. Like that. Then this will add and that. And if I go into my full presentation mode again, I'm going to go to begin from the previous slide to show you the animation as it goes through. I go to slideshow from current slide. It'll load up that slide with the effect. And as we can see, slide transition, individual bullets, added text as well as images, and then our image appears. You can also add different external content into your presentations. Things from the Insert tab can be added at will. Things like shapes, which are any of these options here. You can add boxes and rectangles, which is part of how we made this presentation's background slide. You can also add different shapes and charts, anything to really draw the audience's attention. One thing that I like to do if I'm doing like this and this and this is use these little arrow boxes here. If I click on one, it'll show me that I can add that in, and it'll look something like that. You just click and drag, and you can edit the size of those. You can delete them by pressing the delete key after selecting them as well. If I click on the text box, I could add in a text box by clicking the text option from Insert, and then just dragging and dropping, like that. In order to delete these, you would simply select the actual box and hit delete. You can add tables, pictures, charts, slide numbers, and videos as well. In order to add the slide numbers, you'd want to do that from the Design tab over here, or the Insert tab as well. But I'm going to show you how to add images and pictures next. This image actually is one of the images we added to the background of a slide, but it is behind a grayed out text box, as you can see. In order to insert something like this is just a rectangular shape that we've applied a color to. But if you wanted to insert a picture, you would go to Insert Picture like I showed you before, and then you can actually reorder them. If I right-click on this background image, it's actually applied to the background. But if I right-click on the shape and hit Bring to Front, it'll actually put this in front of the text as well. As you can see now, all of my text on this screen is behind the filter. You can right-click on that again and hit Send Back. and that will move it in back of all this text. You can do this to rearrange how you're going to stack your images, and combined with the ordering that I mentioned previously, you can actually show different pictures, put one picture on top of another in your presentation. I'm not sure how you would choose to use that, but really your imagination is the limit on that. As I mentioned previously, you can also add charts, such as a pivot table from Excel. One thing I do want to mention when covering this is that that table right there is actually from Excel. And as you can see, it's not responding anymore because I clicked the table option up here. This table option, if you add it in, is really finicky. It's not something I'd recommend using. If you're going to put a table in your presentation, I'd recommend just doing a copy and paste straight from Excel into your presentation in a text box. This is actually a pivot chart that I created and copied and pasted in. And as you can see, it looks nice, clean, ordered. No real data was used in this, but you can make something as beautiful as this in Excel, which I actually will be covering, I believe, in my first presentation of next month. If you want to figure out how to use some charts, pivot tables, and Excel data, it's a good one to tune into. You can also add different tables as well, such as full charts, different actual sets of data if you want to show a plan comparison, and things of that nature. One thing that people don't really do that often is add videos into their PowerPoints. And it's really useful if you want to get like someone doing a testimonial or a set of testimonials in a presentation. You might want to add a video. There are two ways to do this. You can do a link, and if you hold Control on this and double click, it will open, typically at least. But this link goes straight to our Cornerstone website. The Cornerstone website is just our main site. You can get to there by double-clicking on it, Control, click, and it should open in your actual presentation. You can also insert a clip into the PowerPoint directly. This is where it gets a little bit different between what version of PowerPoint you're using. I have embedded this video clip here from our previous Excel Tech Tuesday. If I click the play button here, it will play along with the audio of the slide, as you can see. The only reason I was able to add this into PowerPoint 2010 and earlier is because I actually saved this as a WMV file. WMV was used by Microsoft specifically for video formats for quite some time, but then they cut it around 2010 or 2011, I think. So PowerPoint 2010 was the last one to use this set. Unfortunately, in 2010 and earlier, WMV files are the only type of files you can add. After this point, MP4 became the standard. So if you're trying to add a video embedded into your PowerPoint, after 2010, you'll want to use an MP4. Prior or at Microsoft PowerPoint 2010, you're going to want to use a WMV file. Unfortunately, you can't even really save video files in that format anymore, so you're going to have to use some sort of online converter, which is what I had to do. And there's not really many good ones. If you just Google online MP4 converter or YouTube converter, you can convert into WMV from YouTube or any other video type, really. There's also different types of navigation that you can use for a slide. A lot of people use clickers to advance these, or their keyboard going down or forward. And if you wanted to go back from your presentation, you would have to use the back arrow key, or you'd have to right-click on the slide in presentation mode and hit reverse slide. I can actually show you that now. If you go into slideshow from current, and I'm going to screen share the other screen for you real quick. If I right-click here, it'll open up this drop-down, and I can hit Previous to go to my previous slide, or go to Next Slide, or jump to any sort of slide I want using the right-click option. But there is another option for when you're using your presentation in full presentation mode. Under this slideshow, I could simply hit Record Slideshow, run through it recorded, rehearse my timings, and then based off of the most recent rehearsed timings, it will actually advance automatically. I can click this Use Timings here before I begin my presentation from the beginning, And that will allow me to actually advance this slide one by one based off of a time rather than off of my manual inputs. So if you don't have any way to change your slide, just rehearse it a few times, have it navigate automatically. But like I said, you're going to have to make sure this use times box is checked before you begin your presentation. Also, I added a reference slide here. When you're doing presentations like this, it's important to make sure you reference which sites you've used as source material. If you don't, you could get sued for copyright. But in addition, it's just nice to give a little shout out to whoever you obtained your information from. I used all sorts of different sources, and I've been working in PowerPoint most of my life, especially 2010. So these were just fundamental background material. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to type it there in the chat box and I will answer you now, or just shoot me an email at tlevine@crnstone.com, or you can feel free to give me a call at 513-487-5390. And don't forget to connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Cornerstone Broker Insurance Services Agency, we're proudly serving our brokers at any time, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. Don't see any questions yet, but I'll give you a few minutes. Oh, Tim, I see we're getting no sound on your computer. Unfortunately, I didn't get that at the beginning. It might be one of your sound options if you didn't hear me throughout the rest of this. And Melissa, I would be happy to send you an email of this presentation. All right. If there are no other questions, I think we're gonna go ahead and Tim Boone, I see that. All right, I see your hand raised. Go ahead and type any question you have into that chat box. I'd be happy to answer for you. All right, Art, I'd be happy to get you a copy of this as well. All right, if there are no further questions, I'm going to go ahead and end this presentation. If you requested a copy of this PowerPoint, I will send it out to you. It also has my show notes in the bottom here, slide by slide, so that way it's not just a little bit of bullet points. Like I said, any other questions, feel free to email me at tlevine@crnstone.com. Please use the subject Tech Tuesday-PowerPoint, and I would be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you and have a wonderful day.